Okay, everybody, we're here with our defensive coordinator, Peter Sirmon. Go ahead and let me know in the chat that you have questions and we'll get going. We'll get started with David Bush today from Bear Insider.
Good morning, Coach. You last year you were really good in your pass defense. Do you figure that'll carry over this year? Are you pleased with what you've seen so far in that regard?
Yeah, that's something that we've taken pride in. Obviously, with we've had some very talented players that have been in our secondary with us, with Jayhawk and Ashton and Cam and Elijah, part of that crew, and Josh Drayden. So that's something that we're always proud of, but it's definitely something that we spent a lot of time on, of going back and really starting when Coach Watson joined us and when Justin was back there kind of in the spring before we brought on Trey, of making sure that we're continuing to refine the techniques, be very detailed in how we're coaching it. So it's there's more consistency in that, and that's what I think has been a big trademark of Justin. Does a great job of understanding and communicating that part of it. But without guys rushing the passer, and for Cam's good production last year as well, that's a huge part of playing pass defense.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think I skipped to Trace the first time. We're going with Trace Travers from Rivals.
Yeah, good to see you, Coach. I wanted to ask about you guys brought back ISF, or Mo ISF, I should say, since there are two of them now on the team this weekend. And he looked pretty solid during the scrimmage. What have you seen from him since he's been able to practice again?
Since Muello's joined us, he's had he's shown some real glimpses and some real flashes in the limited roles that he participated in last year. He has a upside for us. So to get him back on the field and just try to get him back in the groove of football. He missed a few practices with something. So just getting him back into it, and then using these next 9-10 days. We'll kind of see where he sorts himself out here in a few days, but I expect him to be a big part of the defense and also be showing up for Charlie on special teams. And
you also moved Jernigan over to the inside linebacker position. How is he taking to that early?
Yeah, Miles, he has nice tools for really the outside linebacker and the inside linebacker room, and right now we're just he's immersed in the learning, kind of the process of the inside linebacker room. Some of the terminology, is going to be subtly different than what he learned at the outside position. Even though the schematics of it are all tied in together, but right now it's just he's doing all that he can to feel more comfortable in the calls. But when he's out there, he's long, he's rangy, he does a nice job of getting to the ball. So we will continue to invest and give him reps and see where this takes him.
Thank you.
And we'll go to Jim McGill from Bear Insider.
Hey, Coach, at inside linebacker, are there any leading candidates to back up Mo and Evan at inside backer?
Jim, right now I feel that there's several guys that are going to have the opportunity to get in, and I think they've had really nice camps. Kyle Smith is one that jumps out. Kyle's has been a steady improver since he's been here. His body, his physique, the way he's moving is as good as it ever has been. Trey Pastor is another player that I'm, really bullish on. He moved from kind of that safety. He played some of the kind of the star position, we called it last year, playing some safety and then splitting some time with that field outside linebacker. He's joined the linebackers full time, and his body is, he looks every bit like a Pac-12 linebacker. And he continues to get better with reps, better with, some of the just the experiential learning of reps and doing it over and over again. Nate Regina has done some really nice things, as well. And he's made a transition from, Monte Vista playing some safety, some outside linebacker, and a lot of wide receiver. And he's shown a really good knack for the ball, displayed a lot of instincts. He's up, in the mid 220s right now. So he's another player that has had a really nice camp. And then young Femi Liddell, he's another guy that, wasn't a traditional inside linebacker in high school. but he's shown a real nose for the ball, and he's a player that, we're out of that camp mode, but we're still in the investment development of some of our younger, more inexperienced players, and he's one of those prime candidates that we're getting as many reps as we can.
Looks like in practice the defensive line has been stout. Obviously, there's a lot more bodies out there than there were in the spring and last season. What are you seeing out of that young depth and their ability to contribute early?
It's a good point because of, some of our limiting factors of how much we've been able to practice, and the type of practices that we've been able to plan has been a big function of the depth of the defensive line, and sometimes the lack of depth of the defensive line. Coach Browning's done a really nice job, first of all, of developing the players that we have, but he's also done a very nice job of recruiting, young, talented players. And we're being really mindful and being very strategic on what we're asking them to do, what the development process is, and trying to forecast what we think they're capable of doing within the scheme and what we think they're capable of physically and mentally handling, and trying to build it from, that from the bottom up, and making sure that we're not overwhelming those guys, but they still have an opportunity to contribute and help us this year.
Are you able to comment if Ricky or Stan are back at practice or available this week?
I think Justin will probably handle all that.
Okay.
Okay, is there anybody else? Looks like Trace has another question. Go ahead, Trace.
Yeah, actually, Jeff has questions. He just keeps sending them to me through private message on accident.
Oh, sorry.
I'm not seeing Jeff, so go. Trace or Jeff, whichever one of you.
I'll cede my
wants to
time for the
go, go
moment.
ahead.
I'll have some.
Okay,
go ahead,
thank you.
Jeff.
Thank you, Trace. Peter, can you talk about the safety position? Justin told us the other day that Craig Woodson's out for the season. You've got, Hicks and Daniel Scott and Woody. Can you talk about how those guys are doing? And then who's sort of next in line, and how's your depth developing there?
Craig, that's an unfortunate situation for him and for the team. We wish him nothing but the best as he gets back to full health. But you're right. So it's right now we're looking at Elijah Wood, Daniel Scott, Miles Williams is a young player that we're really high on. He's done a nice job. He plays with a lot of energy. I think he's got nice range. He has the opportunity of kind of overlapping some plays and having some range in the deep part of the field. And then Hunter Barth is another younger player that is continuing to develop. So those are some of the candidates. Juan Butler has been a player for us at safety that's shown a physical approach to the game. So those are the guys that are getting the reps, and we'll see what the rotation is, and how we utilize everybody and what their roles are on special teams and how that impacts the number of snaps that we ask them to play on defense.
How has Woody played?
Woody's been a very instinctual. He's been tackling very well. As a new player to the system, there's some things that he's continuing to get better at in terms of technique and some of the vocab and the communication. But Wood has been a great addition to the team in terms of teammate, worker, and we're happy to have him.
If I could ask you a follow-up, how much prep work have you started already on Nevada? And when you look at their quarterback and their receivers, Strong's pretty good. Dubes, the wideout, is really prolific. What are you seeing with those guys?
Well, I started watching them this summer. I started getting the gray whiskers just the last couple of days. They're a hell of a team on offense, guys. The quarterback is very talented with his arm. He makes throws all over the field. Number 7 is he can take the top off it. They get the ball in the perimeter to him. He can outrun players. A lot of times in press, it looks like the DB is standing in cement, on some of his releases. And then, when I looked at it, I think they had 5 or 6 players over 30 receptions in a 9-game schedule. The tight end the tight end Turner and number 7. They both had 9 touchdown receptions. You know, the running backs combined for 48 receptions on the year. You know, the pistol run game is always a little bit challenging. It's a little unconventional. You know, more teams are doing it, but the angle of approach and some of the blocking, it looks a little bit different than dot run or the running back offset. So this is a very, very talented offensive team. I can't, you know, I'm not watching the other side of the ball, but these are real dudes now.
And they're not really like anybody else you'll play, right?
Not any longer. You know, we obviously missed Wazoo last year, so you'll see some similarities. You'll see some of the kind of the root of you know, some of the Mike Leach, I guess, lineage and some of the pass game stuff. But you know, Mike Leach doesn't run the ball out of pistol downhill and you know, really have the physical backs, and the backs are, you know, watching the entire season. I would love to know how many tackles they broke and how many yards after contact that stable of running backs enjoyed, because it's a lot.
Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, anybody else with questions for Coach? I'll give you 5 seconds in the chat here. Looks like Trace does have questions, so go ahead, Trace.
Yes, I did actually have another question. You guys, by circumstance and just what you had available last year, played maybe 15 guys regularly on defense. Do you have an ideal number that you'd want to play with if you can find the right guys to meet that number, or is it all situational again?
I think it's going to be, Trace, that's, we had, it felt like Hoosiers, when Gene Hackman said, that's my team. You had 4 guys on the floor, and that's my team. Like, Coach, you need 5. Like, that's my team. For a lot of different circumstances. And that's not probably something unique to us. It was probably something that a lot of other teams were able to enjoy last season. But this is still, I think as we identify some guys early, we're hoping to be honestly in the low 20s to the mid 20s of guys that can help us win a game. As the season progresses, you'd like to see that number grow with some of the younger, inexperienced players gaining some valuable experience, maybe not necessarily in the game, but the continued investment in practice and in the meeting rooms. However, there's always going to be attrition as well with, guys missing for different reasons, injuries, those things are always, you're always battling the attrition. You're always trying to continue to build up from the depth in terms of trying to backfill, when guys are unavailable due to injury. So, I think in the low to mid 20s would be a number that I think we're comfortable with in terms of guys that are ready to compete and play with the lights on, which is, as you guys all know, competitive sports are great in a practice environment, but when it's going for real, that takes a different experience level and a different temperament that some players will get there, but it just takes time.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, 3 seconds. Anybody else? Okay, thanks.